and welcome to the 8 p.m. news on Canal English with me, Annette Feti Sume. Our top stories for tonight. Cameroonian youths across the country today celebrated the 53rd edition of the National Youth Day. We will bring you highlights from some parts of the country. The Kumba District Hospital has been burnt down by unknown men. This was in the early hours of today, and developments would be yours right ahead. Some 15,000 young Cameroonians today celebrated their day and they showcased the sense of responsibility at the May 20th Avenue in Yaoundé. The colorful parade this February 11 was presided at by the Minister of Youth and Civic Education. Beatrice Gamu was there and now reports.
Opening cluster for kickoff of Youth Day activities at the Yaoundé 20th May Boulevard. Made up of the following essential elements: bilingual banner announcing the event, a giant's flag and effigy of the head of state, banners with the theme of this year's celebration, and a mascot. Then the march past proper. First, the basic education sector, which, like secondary education, contains 5 schools from each of the 7 districts of Yaoundé. Singing the patriotic songs in English and French, brandishing flags, papers and boards with messages amongst others. Then teachers training colleges, professional training centers, and extracurricular students. The higher education sector, like youth organization from all 7 districts of Yaoundé, also part of the colorful event. The different ambience and movement on display with slogans and messages.
The slogans and the movement of the young people centered on the fight against ills that youth are facing, and I am sure that they'll be committed to fight against those ills. And now what we expect is the implementation of the theme of this 53rd edition of Youth Day along the year, and we are there to accompany those young people following the message of the head of sales.
Youth Day, occasion for Cameroonian youths, all categories inclusive, no distinction of sex, religion, language, social rank, to express their dynamism as they expose attachment to the ideals of patriotism, solidarity, integration, and peace through parades and songs. And so the picture of Yaoundé on this 11th February.
Against all odds, the 53rd edition of the Youth Day was celebrated in Boya, chief town of the Southwest region, as well as in Limbe at the Manga Williams Avenue. How the day unfolded in these 2 towns with Crystal Catala.
The population of Boya answered present at the Independence Square to witness the colorful and patriotic ceremony. Youth defied fear to show their adhesion to a peaceful Cameroon. For close to an hour, these youth marched past the grandstand. The governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Okalia Bilai, congratulated youth who turned out for the celebrations of the 53rd edition of National Youth Day. Youth came out massively despite threats. They merit our support. I am asking the youth who turned out today to continue in this line and tell others to come back to normal life. The head of state said it yesterday during his address to youth. He said he needs all his children, all his sons, so that they will take part in nation building. Amid threat from separatist fighters to disrupt the celebrations, no major incident was recorded. The same echoes came from the seaside resort town of Limbe, where youth mobilized at the Manga Williams Avenue to celebrate. The youth marched past the grandstand carrying placard denouncing all acts of violence perpetrated by separatist fighters. The efforts of the youth were lauded by the SDO of Fako, Emmanuel Lodu Engamba. In Limbe, youths from the nursery, primary and secondary schools, vocational training centers, as well as political parties, are present. The youth in Buya, like those in Limbe, for security reasons, did not wish to express themselves on camera.
And we now move over to the northwest region, where some persons had to brave security challenges to make it to the ceremonial ground in Bamenda for celebrations this Monday. The turnout was low-keyed and celebrations lasted barely 15 minutes, as we hear in the following report with Ambo Gladys Diban.
It was under heavy security that 8 students of Government Bilingual Secondary School, Bamendankwe, about 100 from the University of Bamenda, a host of others from some vocational training institutions, Senajes Bamenda, and a rough collection of people in CPDM t-shirts took part in the march past this Monday, 11th of February 2019 in Bamenda.
For all of us, because we are Cameroonian, we celebrate the Youth Day. It's very, very important for all of us.
I choose to come and march for my country because I'm a young patriotic student of the University of Canal. I bear all the risk to come and march for my country because I think that I'm a youth and I need to march to celebrate my youth day.
It's because we are tired, and we are tired about everything that is happening in our country, especially this Bamenda and the two English region. So we are singing for peace and calling in the name of Hobia, Alice, to see into this situation.
There was a complete absence of kids and pupils of the basic education sector, as only adults in that sector filed past the ceremonial grandstand downtown Commercial Avenue on this Youth Day.
Congratulate the patriotic, bold, and loyal youth of the Northwest region who have turned out to celebrate in the grand style this occasion our National Youth Day here, grandstand Bamenda today.
The most important thing is that all of us came here, those of us who came here at the grandstand, watch the events go the way they went. It is true the situation is not the normal one, but times will tell. I use this opportunity to call on the populations of Bamenda and in general the Northwest and the Southwest to take their destiny into their own hands.
Due to fear factor, those who turned out for the ceremony did all to hide their faces, just as most of them were transported by the military to attend the occasion.
Well, here in Douala, the youths have called on the government to see into their problems, such as unemployment, as they gathered in Bonanjo to celebrate their day. They came out massively to show their love for fatherland. This report with D. Maureen.
The peoples march past chanting patriotic songs, celebrating patrimony and portraying shared values between communities. With their farm tools on their shoulders, baskets of food and fruits on their heads, electronic gadgets in their hands, the youths of Douala 1 are telling the world about the importance of agriculture and digital economy to nation building. Unfortunately, some of the peoples are completely ignorant of this year's theme.
It did too much. We are celebrating the plebiscite.
What is the plebiscite?
The plebiscite.
Talking about the significance of Youth Day, the teachers talked in the place of the peoples, but they are youths as well.
This day, we are celebrating the plebiscite of 1961.
And what's it all about?
The youth come together as one to celebrate what our forefathers talked of during the plebiscite. That's East Cameroon and West Cameroon coming together to form the Republic of Cameroon. It represents oneness, unity, and as well as peace.
Significant because they are celebrating their unification. That those who voted were mostly the youths.
It brings together all the youths. It tries to make the youth to know that they have a kind of responsibility for tomorrow in the country. So that is really what is required of the children, because it is that idea of bringing them together so that when they come together they will be able to know that they are to build up the nation for tomorrow.
The people say they are sympathetic with their mates in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, whom they say cannot freely celebrate the day like any other Cameroonian youth. They have also called on government to put an end to the crisis.
It's a sad story, it's a sad situation, because if other youths in other side of the country, they are really festivizing themselves and others are really not having that opportunity, I really see it a type, because I don't really know how those children there are feeling this moment. I don't really know how they are feeling now.
I'm from that region. It's sympathetic. It's really sympathetic.
As concerns what they retained from the head of state speech, some of the youth had this to say.
It's normal speech I has been making, giving hopes in youth. But the number has been promising to employ. Taking consideration to that number is not nice. Again, encouraging you to go to the farm means that minister will still remain old people. It therefore means that as ministers, old people are old, they should be ministers, youth should be farmers, which is negative.
I'm very sorry because I never...
According to most of the youth we talked to, their main problem is unemployment.
Actually, problems of youths today is that problem of, how can I really... They have that problem of unemployment, because actually, really, rightly as you say, these children, some of them, when they get out of school, some of them, they don't get anything doing. I mean, they are jobless. They don't have anything to do.
Most of the youths in Cameroon see the future bleak. Most have resulted in creating jobs for themselves if they have to fend for their families.
Circulation in the town of Yaoundé was today almost impossible as all 7 subdivisions organized march past. There were roadblocks mounted almost everywhere in town. A picture of the town this morning with Beatrice Gamo.
The population in some neighborhoods in Yaoundé had to go through this work in order to go about their own activities. Barricades like this, the image around all 7 districts of Yaoundé, where pupils, students, had to also take part in the march past.
On fait avec, et puis la jeunesse a besoin du sport. Donc ça nous sert de sport ce matin.
Traffic, the order of the day. But while some still decry the roadblocks and obstacles, especially as road is a major problem in the capital city.
Il n'y a pas de voie, puisque les routes, même il n'y a pas, on a un problème de route au Cameroun. Vous-même vous voyez ça, on a d'abord un problème de route. Et maintenant, comme c'est bloqué partout là, on va passer où?
Others say it is a national feast and the youths need to enjoy their day.
Well, it doesn't matter. It depends on an individual appreciation. It is a youth day. It is their day. They have to celebrate in their own system, in their own manner that is good. It's good. There's no problem. Yes, it's good. It's good.
March past for Yaoundé 1 at the Lonkak area saw circulation cut at Carrefour Valley, Bata Lonkak, Sonel Lonkak, covering the Nilon neighborhood, Nkoleton, and Carrefour Bastos. Before, this driver adds, the youth day march past was only at the 20th May Boulevard. But with this decentralization, for all schools to participate, especially as only few are supposed to be at the boulevard, movements around town are major preoccupation.
Moi, je pense que c'est très mal organisé. Quand c'était à la poste, il n'y avait pas de souci. Mais quand c'est bloqué un peu de partout, là, ça nous bloque.
After 3 hours, it is all over and circulation goes back to normal.
A group of young men and women should be by now explaining to security forces the hidden agenda behind the distribution of some t-shirts today at the Douala ceremonial grounds as youth celebrated their day. They were distributing a t-shirt that had on it as message, Cameroon on fire. Timorin tells us more.
These are the t-shirts at the center of all curiosity at the Douala Council area. As the students marched past the ceremonial ground, this group of young men and women were busy sharing t-shirts with inscription Cameroon on fire, but they failed to mention the name of the association on the t-shirt. An alarm was quickly raised, and that was how many uniforms quickly neutralized them, placing a security belt around the area, but ensuring the march past was not disrupted. The young men and women who apparently had Bibles in hand were transported in this pickup vehicle. Some of their mates successfully escaped, and these ones had no choice but to face their destiny. The smile on their faces is a clear signal they are not defeated. On the other side, the march past, the smile on their faces is a clear signal they are not defeated. On the other side, the march past unfolded smoothly as the youths brandished messages of peace and their determination to forge ahead despite their challenges.
As tradition holds, every 10th of February, that is on the eve of National Youth Day celebrations, the head of state addresses the youth. And now let's come back to some major aspects that President Paul Biya told the youth last night.
My dear young compatriots, the year 2018 was marked by the holding of the presidential election, in which you participated with enthusiasm, either as voters, candidates, or actors in the electoral process. Such participation is encouraging, as it shows the keen interest you have in the affairs of your country. This interest should be reinforced and sustained. It stands out from a practice that is now common on social networks and the source of worrying excesses. Although the principle of this form of direct democracy is not fundamentally wrong, it unfortunately often induces people to adopt positions that are offensive to the authorities, political actors, or ordinary citizens. Such political activism often violates not only democratic principles, but also the law. There is another more responsible and more commendable way of being a political activist. By definition, politics refers to the management of society. Voting, standing as a candidate in an election, being elected a municipal or regional councillor, a member of the National Assembly, or a senator is engaging in politics in the whole noble sense of the word. If such is your ambition, do not hesitate to embark on the path for the good of your country. If you achieve your ambition, you'll be participating in building a just, democratic, and fraternal society based on our social-cultural reality.
And our reporter Beatrice Gamo caught up with some young Cameroonians in the city of Yaoundé who reacted to the head of state's speech. Let's listen to what they had to say concerning the head of state's address.
Like what I'm seeing now is really impressive. As for us that are coming from Southwest, things are not really pulling well, and this type of things we cannot see in Southwest. Everybody's indoor, guns everywhere, things are happening in Southwest.
I'm just asking for the public that you should just make something that you can come up with a new republic so that the republic should not change. It should not divide into two regions. That's why.
Then I like the way he give us advices about the young day, and he explain us how this day can happen for us. I like it. And I want to say to all the young that you should not take this day as usual. You should take that like a day, an important day. We should change our habits and we should be young. And
well, as youth celebrated their day today, some opposition political party leaders have equally urged them to be vigilant and to be firmly committed in the fight against discrimination and all ills that can hamper the smooth functioning of the country. Amongst them are Maurice Kamto and Akarem Muna, amongst others, as Amber Gladys puts together the story.
Remain mobilized for the defense of your fundamental rights and freedom and take advantage of this February 11, 2019, not to feast, but to devote to in-depth meditative reflection to the future of this country. This is an appeal made by the president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party, Maurice Kamto, from his detention cell in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, in an address to youths on this 53rd edition of the National Youth Day. He said his incarceration and that of others arrested a fortnight ago should not arouse fear and anguish in the youths, but strengthened their conviction towards a force for change. Maurice Kamto, in his speech, lambasted Cameroon's electoral system and the absence of a strong reaction to the withdrawal of the hosting rights of the Africa Cup of Nations from Cameroon. He equally did not mince words when he described the growth and employment strategic document, which was presented as a compass to the country's emergence, as failure. The CRM president cited the 2015 to 2018 three-year emergency plan, the special youth training plan, and humanitarian emergency plan to show proof to the youth that the debacle is a sign of government's inability to strategic planning. After expressing security concerns in the far north, the Adamawa, which is targeted to hostage takers, the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, Maurice Kamto then justified why his party militants and sympathizers decided to implement the National Resistance Plan, with the march on January 26 being a crucial step that led to their arrest. But he advised the youths to remain vigilant. In his message, Kamto also emphasized why his party has been firmly committed in the fight against tribalism and all other forms of discrimination. Another opposition leader, Akarem Muna, believes the strength of youth cannot be doubted, and an attempt to get around it can only succeed if the youth don't give up. In his message to the youths, Akarem Muna urged them to live in solidarity and to be more committed.
And as youth celebrate the 53rd edition of their day, those in number, most of them are involved in the informal sector. This report with Amber Gladys Ndiba once more.
Youth in Ambam and Kiosi in the Thames Valley Division, South region of Cameroon, are more determined than ever to get busy and make ends meet. As we took a walk across the towns, we found that youths are involved in petty trading, such as the sale of food, spare parts, bike riding, hairdressing, manicure and pedicure, hawking and mending of shoes. Although educated and trained, they still face difficulties in their various domains and call on government to step in and resolve their challenges. I am a hustler. I wish the head of state should reorganize his government in order to integrate youths. Even those who have had employment still face difficulties.
I am an apprentice in tailoring at the Women's Empowerment Center. We have trainers, but we lack equipment to work. We urge the head of state to provide us with equipment at the Women's Empowerment Center to facilitate work for us. I am a taxi driver. Bad roads are major problems. We need good roads here. In the markets, traders, several of them youths, lack proper stands to exhibit their goods and complain of high taxes levied on them by the local councils. We need our markets to be given a facelift. Commodities are very expensive now and taxes too are high. I deal in manicure and pedicure. Our clients are seasonal. We have them when there are events. This other young man with a disability is a cobbler. He mends shoes in the Amba markets. Just like other handicapped persons, he needs support from the state and funding to boost his activity. Access to funds has always been one of the greatest challenges for petite traders who only look up to their thrift contributions in Jangi houses for support.
And over in the Adamawa region, youths of Gahan are equally calling on the government to provide them with socio-political assistance so that they can go ahead. For life is not that easy on them, as they say. This report with our intern, Ladonette Ondesa Oni.
Youths in Gahan are faced with the problems such as hostage taking and the payment of ransom. Amongst the 311 victims of 2015-2018, youths constituted more than half of people arrested and the deaths. More to these, there are other problems. Unemployment is high amongst youths, but government has put in place some special program for youths, whereby 1,300 youths have been employed already. Often, we come in late because information gets to us late. Again, there is no electricity. Sulemanu, a headmaster, is amongst the fortunate youths, but he has 6 months of non-paid salaries. In his village, the illiteracy rate is high. A child who is not educated will become a conman, a highway robber, or a drunkard. That is why I will work without payment. As youths in this part of the country celebrate their day, it is an occasion for them to expose their difficulties to authorities that be hoping they would be given socio-political assistance.
Inhabitants in the town of Kumba Meme division in the southwest region got up this morning only to discover that part of the Kumba district hospital has been burnt down. It is being said that unidentified men in the early hours of today did the job, and many patients are reported dead, and also heavy material damage has been recorded. This report with Crystal Katala.
Distress cries could still be heard from the damaged section of the Kumba District Hospital, ravaged by a blistering fire in the early hours of this morning. Here, the theatre, the female surgical, nurses' quarters, and other structures completely burnt down. Reports say unidentified men stormed the hospital and put fire on several structures and vehicles. It is equally reported some patients who could not run away got trapped in the flames. The senior divisional officer of Meme, terrified by the situation, went to the scene to condole with victims currently stranded.
2 persons have been killed and completely also burned. You saw the cops. We don't know exactly why those boys are behaving so. What the hospital did.
He also promised to track down authors of the abominable act.
I am going to do my best to put hand on those criminals who have decided to put fear within the whole division.
From a night of sporadic gunshots to fire incident, the town of Kumba, which is now known to be a war zone, has left inhabitants in total panic. The unfortunate incident had a negative effect on the population. This was visible in the turnout at the Kumba Grandstand during Youth Day celebrations, where they re-listened to the head of state address to youth.
And sporadic gunshots in the town of Bamenda yesterday stopped inhabitants who tried to buy more food from the market to stock their homes. This part of the country is undergoing a 10-day ghost town that has been declared by separatist fighters. What happened yesterday with Amber Gladys Diban?
As the 10 days ghost town continue in the northwest region, some inhabitants of Bamenda who tried to go out on Sunday, February 10, to replenish their food and other stock, were frightened by sporadic gunshots around the food market as they wanted to pick a few food items.
I went to the market to buy small things like tomatoes and vegetables.
In the absence of township taxis and motorbikes, this woman has been trekking for about 3 kilometers from her old town residence to the regional hospital to check the state of affairs of her pregnant neighbor who was rushed to hospital the previous night.
Again, last month for hospital for general. They take you now, yesterday for night. Then Baba for back. Then go Ami for day. Now we want to go give the soap.
On a day of worship, when Christians were supposed to be in church, the doors of some houses of worship were instead shut.
Pray to my God. So I must keep security for myself so that I can use it to do God's job all the time. But if I allow myself for bandits to kill, then I will not do any favor to God because He has given me all the intellect to use to protect myself and do a good job.
While in the quarters, some gospel-thirsty inhabitants were served prayers requesting a normalization of affairs in Anglophone Cameroon and an end to the series of thefts in society.
In Jesus' name. Continue to see into our problems in this country, Daddy. Continue to see into the war of our nation. Continue to save your people. We are not body, but a made dog that has no hands, no feet. We only have our tail to walk in that. We love you, Papa. Keep on showing your love to us as you revive us in this land of our ancestors once more in Jesus.
Before I don't cook my medicine inside my pot, keep them for my kitchen. They can't carry all pot go. So my way carry them, me better can give the pot back. Or me can give my medicine, take pot go. Let him we go do it in our believer.
That was how Bamenda awaited the head of state's address to the youths on the eve of a tense Youth Day 2019.
And this report brings us to the end of the news tonight on the English. Thanks for watching. Happy Youth Day to all celebrating out there.